I'm going to be talking about horizontal shifts here, and I have a picture to introduce that. A pretty woman, the character Julia Robbins, plays a part of a character, and that's why I call this a horizontal shift, because horizontal shifts are horizontal liars. So that's just kind of like, that's why I use this picture here, because this is going to demonstrate a horizontal lie. And I'm going to demonstrate why it's a horizontal lie. If this was the graph y equals x, it would go through the identity line through 0. But because it's plus 2, you notice that the graph is shifted up 2. Well, horizontal shift would be denoted like the x plus 2 would be in parentheses. This is the same graph, I just added a parentheses to it. And even though it was up 2, in order to be correct, it has to go through negative 2. And the reason for that is because at the value negative 2 gives it a value of 0, which is normally where you're at for 0. It's kind of like the x value have to shift 2 units left to be back at the 0. So even though I see a plus and I think, oh, pluses go right, this graph actually will shift to the left. That's why I call it a horizontal liar. I see it plus 2 thinking, oh, right 2. No, this graph actually shifted left 2. Now the reason I point that out, we call it an inside liar because it's in parentheses, or a horizontal liar, is look at this graph here. I have the quantity x minus 2. Now if this minus 2 had been x squared minus 2, this would have been a vertical shift down. But because it's in parentheses, it makes it a horizontal shift. Now here's my normal graph right here. So I'm basically in the normal graph, 0 squared is 0. If I have a 0 here, that's a minus 2. That's times negative 2, which would be negative 2 times 2 would be 4. So I'd be at 0, 4. So the graph, notice, is shifted over. I have to shift it over 2 because 2 minus 2 would make that a 0 to give me the answer of 0. So I had to shift it not 2 to the left, but 2 to the right, 2 to the opposite. I have to have its opposite value to be back at 0. So that's why it's a horizontal shift. So it says minus 2. I didn't move left 2. I moved right 2. That's why I call these horizontal liars, right? It's a horizontal shift, and they're liars, right? So, and to kind of look at this here, things that we looked at, you'll see if it's in this form here, or the vertex form, see the H says negative H. That means it's indicating it's a liar. So if it's really, in this case, it was a minus 2, which makes it a positive, and moved it actually horizontal right for my graph. And so to kind of talk about these things here, if I want a vertical shift upward, the value's outside and not in the parentheses. If I want it downward, you take the function and you're simply subtracting a value from it because that moves it down. However, if I want to move it to the right, I actually have to subtract inside the function value to make it a horizontal shift to the right. This would be the negative would be the right, and the positive in the inside the parentheses would be to the left. So I made these marks so you can see them in that format.